From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One more corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
And Corey Clark.
All that listening is making you bitter too. When I can go therapy.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Coming up on today's show, tell me about your mother. Get on the couch, everybody. Let it all out. Corey and I, almost a 2-hour Renegade Express mailbag show. Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida, cptallybar.com, the website. You can also see the QR code on your screen. Takes you right to aforementioned website. Corey, you see this thing online where they're going to do something where they might put the player's Venmo on the Jumbotron after they score a big play. Not at Florida State, but like some schools are maybe experimenting with this.
Okay.
That'd be pretty cool, right? Like after Kermit takes it to the house in Pasadena, his Venmo pops up on the big screen and everyone's just like, give him all the money you have, honey.
I feel like at that point, he already did it for you. I feel like the Venmo should come before the big plays, not after.
Well, perhaps that's one way to look at it. But check out the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill for your entertainment, culinary needs. They got you covered. Great people, live music, Noles. Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source. Hit the thumbs up, 5-star rating and review. Would appreciate that stuff, please. You don't have to do it right now. You should do it right now. But if you want us to earn it, kind of like, be like Corey, have us do it beforehand, and then we'll prove ourselves, as opposed to me with the Venmo on the screen and wanting to, not pay up until you make the big play. I digress, though, Corey. We got a big old mailbag here. Let's get to it. No funny business today. Anything on your mind, though, before we get started, Corey?
No. Let's get to it, buddy.
Okay.
Let's get to it.
This is good, though. I mean, a lot of the kind of the same questions, but asked differently almost. I don't know. It's good. Let's jump into it all. Bradley Moss, wake up. For as much of a beloved college football figure Kirk Herbstreit is and how much he loves and is passionate about college football, do you guys think he regrets most likely destroying his relationship forever with FSU and its fan base?
It's a good
It is a good question.
I don't think he he might regret. Here's the thing. I don't think I haven't been able to articulate this very well. The people in the college football bubble, the Herbstreits and the national writers of the world, I don't think, but mainly Herbstreits and McElroys, I don't think they understood what this decision was actually going to do. I think they thought it made sense because they're in this stupid bubble where, hey, it's the best versus the best, and there's this little note in the way they evaluate teams about an injured player and blah, 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 not knowing how completely idiotic and unfair it looks to every normal-brained person in the world. And so when you're outside that college football bubble and you can take a step back, again, on Thursday, got done working out, and I'm up in Atlanta, and I'm wearing our Florida State hockey the Florida State hockey shirt that our friend got us. T. Giddings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm wearing that. I worked out in it. I'm walking out of the gym, and the guy says, man, you guys got hosed. Just out of the blue. And I don't think the people at ESPN appreciated how much outrage and blowback there would be for this. Now, it doesn't matter. People are still going to watch the game, so I guess what do they care? But I can promise you Kirk Herbstreit, when he's sitting there saying what he's saying, thinking it sounds normal in the world of college football because they've normalized it ever since 2014, essentially, it is preposterous. And I think he regrets maybe not taking a step back and in thinking about his own career and everybody that's ever played sports. Danny Cannell tweeted on Thursday. He was on Mike Krzyzewski's SiriusXM show, and he quoted Krzyzewski as saying he can't believe the coaches in the room and the committee did that. The Florida State got screwed. This is Krzyzewski because he's in athletics. He understands the pursuit. So, yes, I don't know that Herbstreit regrets it. I think he's surprised by how much vitriol, not just from Florida State fans, how much vitriol and blowback there was just from normal, rational college football fans and normal, rational human beings walking this earth.
Also, do you think the committee purposely put Florida State up against Georgia, projecting, in quotes, that they would beat Florida State to then justify them not selecting Florida State for the CFI, the College Football Invitational.
Could be. Again, it just makes them look dumb, right? Like, it just makes them look dumb. Because there's no way you can think Florida State is worse than Alabama but better than Georgia. Alabama and Georgia basically played to a standstill. So what needle are you threading there to say, well, they're worse than that team, but they're better than that team? No. If Florida State is a different team because they don't have a quarterback, the quarterback you want them to have, then put them ninth. So I think it was just to try to save face. Like, oh, we agonized.
Yeah.
Oh, we agonized. We're going to put them fifth. And I don't think it had any – because it would have made them look completely idiotic, more idiotic than they do, if Florida State had gone from 4th to 10th. But that's what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
They didn't do it, but that's what they wanted to do. So they're like, oh, we're just going to drop them a spot so Alabama and Texas can shoot up over them.
Also, it's bowl tie-in, so I guess it could have given Missouri, but Georgia beat Missouri, and Orange Bowl's higher on the pecking order, so that's part of it too. Sam E. Knoll, what's up, guys? Despite the depressing end to the season, thanks to the committee. Just want to say thanks for keeping me entertained all season long. Anyways, I think I know the answer to this, but would you guys expect any sort of on-field statement, or protest at the Orange Bowl for what happened to Florida State? I'm not exactly sure what the best approach would be, but I would love to see the players and coaches band together and do something. I know the easy answer is let our play on the field do our talking, but with FSU's likely opt-outs, Georgia's depth, I'm thinking that's going to be tough. Somebody in here later on the mailbag suggests all black jerseys and then no nameplates, but rather unconquered instead. I like that. I think that's pretty cool.
I do. And Norvell will be Norvell will talk before the game on national television. They usually interview the coach right before the game, so he could say something there. I don't know. Maybe have 13 guys on the field to start the game and get a penalty that way. You know what I mean? Not just 12, but 13 on both sides of the ball. I suggested on headlines just trying to play with 13 the whole game. They either can't call it every play or they'll say we're done with this and forfeit. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have a read on how Norvell will handle that. Clearly he's irate. He's very,
disgusted
very frustrated.
Is what he said, right?
Yeah, he's disgusted, as most people are. But how do you illustrate that? And is he the kind of guy that because he's going to be in the moment trying to win a game. So is he going to want to do the pity dance beforehand? I don't know. I would, because I'm petty. In fact, I would do something pretty. I don't know what I would do. It'd be out there, but yeah, I'm open for ideas. If anybody has any ideas, we can pass them on to Mike the next time we talk to him. But yeah, and here's the thing, man. I feel so bad for the players. I was thinking about this today, Aslan. I know we got to get through a lot of questions. I don't know that Akeem Dent's going to play in the NFL. I don't know that Tatum Bethune. Maybe, or Tatum Bethune. They're not surefire NFL guys. Fabian Lovett, because he's been so banged up. I don't know. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of really good players, really good college football players on this team. This is different than 2014 because that team was loaded with guys that some of them are still making millions of dollars playing this game. But it was loaded with guys that had a career after this, a lucrative career. I don't know how many guys. This is just a really good college football team. And they did so much to give themselves a chance. That's what it isn't full of guys that are like, yeah, this sucks, man, but all right, I'll be a millionaire in 5 months. Right. There's some of those guys, but not all of them. The Bethunes, the Akeem Dents, Fentrell Cypress maybe. I think Deloach is an NFL player, but I don't know where he's going to get drafted because he's not the biggest linebacker in the world. Fisk, I don't know where he gets drafted, although I think he's a great college player, and I would draft him. So you know what I mean? It's not a bunch of Mario Edwards, Jalen Ramsey's, P.J. Williams, Ronald Darby's, guys that you know are second-roundish, first-roundish guys. It's a bunch of Jarian Jones. That dude was awesome this year. I hope he gets drafted and has a great career. I don't know that he will. I don't know how he's going to test, but he was a really good college football player. So
is this more that they're going to miss out on this opportunity of a lifetime, or that they don't have these two other games that probably help maybe?
Oh no, the opportunity of a lifetime. They earned it. This is not a team where if Alabama had missed out on getting to the playoff, I know everybody would have just felt horrible for those kids. Absolutely gutted for those Alabama kids. But no, in all seriousness, most of those guys are probably going to play in the NFL at some point in their careers. It's just Alabama. It's the truth. They get out of every recruiting cycle, half of them get drafted. I don't think that Florida State is quite like that. I think this was a unique blend of some superstar talent and some really good, experienced old college football players that all rallied for one goal and one mission to go undefeated. And they did, but they didn't get to chase the ultimate prize. And that's what's so, like, I think, Tatum Bethune's battled injuries. Akeem Dent's battled injuries. Are they going to play at the next level? I hope, like I said, I hope. But maybe they're just really good college football players that now don't get the chance. And I guess I would equate it a little bit. I shouldn't, because Trent Forrest has been in the NBA now for 3 years. But so that's a horrible example. So Raekwon Gray, like, he was part of that 2020 team. Dominic Olenek. I can't remember the kid's name. The big Polish kid, the center, from the 2020 team. Those kids, Raekwon Gray has had a cup of coffee in the NBA, but he's not an NBA player. He was part of something special, and it got taken away because they couldn't play in that tournament. And now I feel like the same thing with this Florida State football team to a degree.
I think it's Olenek. I think you're right.
Olenek. There you go.
There you go. Close enough. Moving along, old dads and old wake up guys rewatch the game and would like to ask the question that's lingered all year. What the bleep? He put bleep in there. Thanks, old dad. Censor button's been getting overworked here this week. What happened to the offensive line? All the top transfers, experience returning, much improved talk. Turned out to be a bit of a letdown. I watched guys get beat on the edges, push back, no push up front, and once again, making another team's defense look elite, other than using injuries, because everybody has them. Share what you think caused this unit to look like they did most of the year. I went ahead and looked it up. Old Dad's and Noles says he did. 58th in sacks allowed, 66th in rushing after being 13th last year. Cheers to the season we'll be talking about forever, and to the two best at what you do, old dad.
Thanks, old dad.
Thanks, old dad.
Yeah, that's fair. I would say this. What would it have mattered? If they were great, what would it have mattered? Honestly, maybe they beat Florida 40-14, and that would have. I don't know. I thought they were actually. I know the numbers maybe don't bear it out. I thought they were fine at pass pro. I thought they were good. They didn't get run through a lot. But remember, their best offensive lineman, most talented, is probably Robert Scott, and he barely played. So you lost your best tackle for essentially the whole season. And then you had to plug a lot of guys in because they were banged up. But, yes, it was a disappointment. I personally think they probably made a mistake, in my opinion, by not moving Byers to guard. I think Byers could be an NFL guard. I remember watching him when he first got to Tallahassee and watching him pull and run. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, he can really move. But they kept him at tackle, and he was okay at tackle, but I thought he could have been very good as a guard. Demetri Emmanuel, I don't think he was as good as he was last year, and Casey Roddick was just adequate. So, and Maurice Smith was banged up, because Maurice Smith's always banged up. God love that kid. He always plays. He never wants to come out of a game. He never comes out of a game, but he was banged up. So I don't think that it's like all of a sudden Atkins forgot how to coach this, and that Dylan Gibbons and Jasden Turnentine were that pivotal that you couldn't come. You didn't have reasonable facsimiles there to replace those guys. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe those guys were the difference last year. I don't think so, but maybe they were. Maybe Gibbons was way more valuable than we even thought he was. But I don't quite know. But yeah, it never did click. It never did click. Again, when you're I don't. The ACC game, I don't know what you can say about that. Like, Louisville's not horrible on the defensive line. They're not great, but they're not horrible. That's a decent front seven. And when they know you can't pass, that changes everything. And the quarterback wasn't really much of a running threat. That just changes everything. So I don't judge them necessarily on that game, and I'll only bring that up because old dad did. But, yes, throughout the course of the season, they were a disappointment. Overall, for what we thought they were going to be, they were a disappointment in an otherwise incredible season. But they weren't that disappointing because, again, what's their record, Aslan?
Right. And also, whatever they are in rushing yards, I bet probably – I wonder what they are in terms of overall yardage because, you got Keon Coleman here this year, so that's going to change. your offensive output in terms of your mix. But to
Also,
Corey's
I
point
think
about pass blocking, real quick, Corey.
Okay, go ahead.
83.4 on PFF this year in pass blocking, and believe it or not, 64.4 last year.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they. So you're saying they improved vastly?
Yeah, that's what Pro
now,
Football
the
Focus
PFF
says.
certainly isn't the end-all, be-all. But again, when you think back to this season, I don't remember them just. And some of that's Jordan. Like people rush Jordan differently than they rush, Brock Glenn and Tate Rodemaker. But I thought they stood up pretty darn well in pass pro, really kind of all season.
Yeah.
I just did. I thought they were good there, and I thought they were mediocre. I'll say I thought they were mediocre in the run blocking all season long.
Yeah, they averaged about 278 yards of total offense last year, 416 this year. So there goes my theory.
No, wait, say that again. They didn't average 278 yards last year. What do you mean?
Well, this year it says their total offense was 45th at 416 yards a game.
And what did they average last year?
It was like 478, I think it said. Let me get back there. 484.2.
They averaged almost 500 yards per game last year?
That's what it says on NCAA's official stats.
Huh. Wonder if that had to do with the plays.
Well, Duquesne was there as well, right?
Well, and also, but also remember.
And the bowl game, too. I think that bowl game was.
Yeah.
It's total offense. It's yards per game, not total points.
Yeah.
So.
But also, like, they had the Clemson game, they had less than 300 yards. The Louisville game, what'd they have? 220. The Florida game, I don't think they had 300 yards.
Right.
So you had a lot. They never had those games last year, but they also had 2 games without their starting quarterback, and that hurt them a lot in the total yardage.
FSU 73-72. Someone please explain how's Joe Tessitore getting to come to Tallahassee 2 days after the biggest screw job in sports history. Bret Hart might have a word with you. And collect a check for delivering condescending remarks to a group of football people, football in italics, with zero resistance. Even takes a question about what his favorite dessert is. Can you imagine Joe telling Jesse Palmer how weak and stupid Florida State fans are, inviting the thieves back for dinner after they cleaned out your house and shot your dog? I mean, this was scheduled weeks, months in advance.
Months
everybody.
in advance. Months in it. Like, I think it was probably set up in the summer, I would imagine, when they get their list of their guest speakers.
And he got peppered. And he got peppered with some questions. And I don't want to be that guy that's like, well, what would you do? But I just don't know in that setting, in a nice ballroom and University Club at Doak Campbell Stadium, how many people are going to want to take their pants and show themselves to everybody? Look,
I wasn't there. I was in Atlanta. I don't think I would have gone anyway.
I would have gone if I known Jimbo was going to be there. But
I know you would if you'd gotten a picture, and that'd be your new avatar on Twitter. I think that I would have asked if I could get a question to somebody like that, whether it's Herbstreit, McElroy. Well, McElroy and Herbstreit, I'd have some other maybe more pointed questions. But with somebody with Tessitore, I would ask, like, what do you think ESPN's role is when it comes to broadcasting a championship game? Is it to just broadcast the game that you're broadcasting, or is it to add all this other context and flavor in outside conferences? Because the reason I would ask, and I would say this in the question, I watched all of the Georgia-Alabama game. Not once did I remember Florida State's name coming up. Not once. But when I watched the Florida State game, all I hear about is Alabama. What's the point there? Like, what's the thinking there? Why are you? And he would say what he'd say, like, look, it's the college football conversation. It's a boring ass game, which granted it was. If you don't like defense, and ESPN clearly doesn't, it's the conversation, but it's also gross. But what can you do? Yeah, look, and also it's like you want to honor the you want to honor the event. You don't want to bring shame to the Tallahassee Quarterback Club by throwing eggs at a guy or call him an idiot or a liar or anything like that. And it was made in months in advance. And he was nice enough. I shouldn't say nice enough. He does get paid. But he did come down to the Tallahassee Quarterback Club. So you want to treat him with a modicum of respect because he's down there. And, you don't – so you want to be respectful, I think. But at the same time – you could be pointed. And I haven't watched the whole thing, but Aslan said that it did get a little chippy there at times, but that was to be expected. He had to know that coming in.
Yeah, 34-minute mark. And I get it. You talk about him being condescending, but he's up there by himself and the mob more or less is cackling at him. He's got to kind of deflect and try to, keep it moving a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, I think if you check out the 34-minute mark, it starts getting a little bit, a little chippy if you want. So check it out.
But also he showed up. Now you could say he showed up for a check, but he did show up. He didn't have to do that. So again, I just think you want to honor the in a way you just want to honor the event and you want to honor the club, and you don't want to make a mockery of this and turn it into putting a witch at the stake. You know what I mean? Now, what am I trying to think? It's not a witch. He's not on trial, but you also would like some real answers, and it was not good timing for him to be here.
He did throw in the obligatory kind of, the committee got it, the committee screwed up, not screwed up as in like they erred, but just like the whole basis of this sport right now is in a very weird space. But,
well, it would have been nice, and again, I say this not having watched the broadcast, it would have been nice if they ever added that context, ever. Like, why add it 3 days later? Why aren't you saying that on Saturday? Like, how crazy is this stupid sport? Like, he could have said that after one of the punts. Like, isn't it crazy, folks, that we're talking about this? That an undefeated team might be left out, maybe, because we don't know what they would look like with their quarterback who's not even playing in this game. But that's what the committee painted themselves into with that ridiculous, with those ridiculous stipulations and vague parameters of how they choose a team. Like, that would have been a nice conversation to have. Not like, hey, America, does Alabama belong, or does this team without a quarterback belong?
Island Chief, wake up, or in the parlance of my mood these days, wake the F up. I have resisted donning a tinfoil hat in the past, not anymore. I know that if we had been accused of cheating, we wouldn't be in the conversation, but this vote by 13 people who will be feted for their vote by the powers that be in Houston at cocktail parties and smoke-filled rooms is disgusting. They had 2 votes prior to the last one to knock Florida State down, but they waited, hoping Florida State would play their part and lose. Wake Forest is already being rewarded for the vote by Jim Grobe. They just had a 2-time transfer made eligible for the season because he transferred to be closer to his ailing mother. Coincidence? I don't think so. Not anymore. All right, there we go.
I've got a tinfoil hat conspiracy.
Well, let's get this question real quick.
Oh, okay, sorry.
My question, how does this damage the culture that Norvell has built? How does it change him as a coach? And somebody, I need to find the question. I should have had this one loaded up too, but in that regard too, somebody also asked about, is our guy NYC Noel. His concern is that it's going to be tough to find another team that truly loves each other and battles for each other the way that this team did. So how much of a concern is that? Is that, listen, this team, we don't want to take anything for granted, and that's the unfortunate part of this, that it's so hard to go 13-0, and you just did, and now you don't have the opportunity to cash that in. I don't think it damages the culture, but I do think in the midst of this kind of reflecting on this team and celebrating how great they were, maybe there is a part of this, and listen, man, the romanticism of football is largely dead for me. But these guys really did rally around Norvell's messaging and the culture and playing for each other. And it's going to be tough to continue to find guys like Jared Verse that are not only have this sort of bright light in them that they want to, be brothers and share this journey with each other, but also really badass football players. It's going to be tough to find that mix. But I don't know. I have faith that Mike Norvell will be able to, sift through the portal and find these pieces. What do you think, Corey? Will the culture be damaged and just was it an anomaly, the amount of talent and mental, emotional alignment they were able to get figured out here this last year?
No, I don't think it damages the culture necessarily. I think you could understand how it disillusions some of the older players. Especially the ones I was talking about earlier in the show, just like, what did we, I don't have a lot of football left in me maybe. And I did all this. I rushed back, and then I played well. I played on a bad knee for this payoff. But I don't think it damages the culture because I just think the culture is too strong for that. And I think, I think they're on the precipice of maybe I don't know for how long it can last, but maybe for the next couple of years when you look at this recruiting class and you look at the portal kids that are probably coming. I mean, I think they're going to get some really big names. You have a 2-year, 3-year window here where, how does Alabama do it every year? How does Georgia do it every year? Well, they get really good players. Like, Kirby gets them to play hard. Like, that's the thing that's always stood out about Georgia, and I'm sure we'll see on December 30th with all those 5-star backups they have, is they always play hard. They may not be great all the time, but, man, they are physical, and they get after it. And that's what he preaches. And you've seen those locker room videos. You've seen those behind-the-scenes videos of Kirby. That's what he preaches, and that's his culture. I think you could do the same thing at Florida State, maybe with a tick less player, because not everybody can beat Georgia. But I don't think anybody – like Georgia feels like they got screwed too. I think their culture is going to be just fine because it starts at the top. And I don't think Norvell will allow this to completely disrupt or deflate the culture that he's built.
No thoughts, though, that maybe this team was special? Like this quarterback, these guys,
Yes, that's what's so bothersome about it, man. It was special. And it's special because, look, I don't think it's special as in this is Florida State's last chance at a championship. I don't think that at all. It's special because, as we've talked about, where it came from. And some of these guys, again, here on out, let's say they get, they got the Bolden kid coming. They got Kromenhoek coming. Kromenhoek's a borderline 5-star. Bolden's a 5+ star. Maybe they get Jeremiah Smith, the wide receiver who was in Tallahassee on Thursday and is about to start his official visit today, actually. He won a state championship in Tallahassee on Thursday. He's the number 1 wide receiver in the country. These are different kinds of kids that they're bringing in now. They're bringing in already ready-made big-time players. What was special about – so they can have special seasons moving on. It'll just look and feel different because they're coming into a much better place, a much better – like you feel differently about – like in me anyway, looking back on it, I feel differently about LaMarcus Joyner than I do Jalen Ramsey and Derwin James. They're better players than LaMarcus, but LaMarcus joined a team that was coming off 3 straight, like 7-6 seasons and turned them into a champion. Derwin James and Jalen Ramsey joined it when they were already great. And I think but that doesn't take away from their specialness or from that 13 season when Jalen played a lot for them. So I think that's how I look at it, is you can still have special seasons, but you're not going to have a star defensive end that was a 0-star at Albany or a quarterback that was booed by his home crowd and had to leave Louisville and almost thought about switching positions. And all these offensive linemen from all these different places and disparate places. It's a lot of low stars and no stars that turned into be big stars. That's what was so special about this team. That, to me, that where they came from, who they were, and where the depths that they pulled this program out of. But I think 2024, 2025, you can still have really, really good seasons that can contend for a title.
So he can still bake a cake. It just might be a different, it might not be like no-bake cake. You might actually have to bake this one and stuff like that.
It's like, you know what it's like, Aslan? It's like when you make your own meal. And it's not great. It may not be great, but it maybe tastes better to you because you did it. It feels better. The payoff is better because you made this meal, as opposed to going to a restaurant where they prepare it for you, and it probably is a better meal and it costs more, but it doesn't taste. You don't get quite the satisfaction maybe that you did when you cooked your own meal. And these guys weren't homegrown necessarily, but this program has been built from the bottom up, the bottom. And now you're getting a different class of kid. Hey, real quick, though, I did want to go the tinfoil conspiracy
theory. Yeah, what's your theory?
So I'm thinking Bill Hancock, because I think the way it works.
CFP committee chairman or
so
CFI.
So the way it works, right, is these are blind votes that happen in the committee.
I didn't realize that until this week, yes.
They're blind votes. Nobody knows how the other person votes. They basically, they have a machine. They vote. It's anonymous. They take 13 picks. They keep doing it. And finally I guess they reach a consensus. I don't know how it works.
It's like cross-country scoring is what I heard, but I'm not a cross-country runner. So something just about keeps going in rounds until lowest score is determined.
But nobody sees how each other votes. No. Nobody afterwards sees the votes except for Bill Hancock. He's the only one that sees the votes. He's the only one that knows. Like Jim Grove, for all we know, had Florida State number 1. We doubt it, but he had Florida State number 1. Boog Corrigan might have had Florida State number 1. Then he has to go out there and explain why they didn't win or they didn't get in. But nobody knows except Bill Hancock, which is such a stupid, untransparent way to do this stupid thing. Anyway.
Well, it's like a firing squad, Corey. Like everyone's got a blank, and then one person's got the live bullet because they don't want that on your conscience.
Yeah, right. And I think so. But for all we know, Bill Hancock, the 13 other members might be. Well, I had Florida State 3, or I had Florida State 4. Jim Grove must have had him out, or Boo must have had him out, or the female sports writer must have had him out. Like we don't. they don't know how each other's voting, so who can know? Only Bill Hancock really decides because he's the only one that sees the votes. That's not my conspiracy theory, though. My conspiracy theory, it's just stupid. It's a stupid way to run a sport. My conspiracy theory is, the college football, the 12-team playoff could have happened this year, right?
Yes.
It could have. It was set to happen. And instead, mainly Jim Phillips from the ACC blocked it because he was pissed off, rightfully so, that the alliance had been broken, that all these other conferences were going against their word and getting these big schools and leaving the ACC in the lurch. He had some power at the moment to really affect the pocketbooks of these other conferences. So he decided, nope, I'm not signing up on this. You're going to stay at the 14 playoff, and I'm going to cost you all a lot of money. So when 2023 comes around, and I don't know. So if you go from a 14 playoff to a 12-team playoff, how many games is it, Aslan? Let's do the math real quick. A 12-team playoff is what? 4? It's like 8 games?
Sure.
And right now, so let's say 7. And right now it's a 3-game playoff scenario. So you're doubling the content. You're doubling the money. Doubling the inventory. So you're talking literally billions of dollars. And he cost them that money for 1 year. So maybe, just maybe, they were so pissed off about not being a 12-team playoff this year and them getting all those dollar bills that got left there because of Jim Phillips. They're like, well, let's screw his conference. We'll show him. This should be a 12-team playoff already, Jim, but you screwed up and you cost us all tons of money. So here's your payback. Your team gets left out. That's my tinfoil conspiracy.
Bourbon is your friend. Let's go from that to our favorite, Dave in Bardstown. Aslan, my Vitamin Energy Ultimate Variety Pack BOGO is on its way to the house as we speak, so please provide this Renegade Express contribution with the gravitas it's due. Shoot, I forgot you can't be bought, unlike the College Football Playoff Committee.
Amen.
Actually, I can be bought. We're going to read this thing verbatim, Dave. Love you, man. Thank you. Promo code WARCHANT BOGO, everybody.
There you go.
Money, pedigree, and reputation meant nothing. Winning meant everything. Remember that, everybody? It used to be a meritocracy. A legend once said winning was the only thing. The playoff committee proved it cares not for the integrity of competition and fair play, instead valuing brand loyalty and the ad revenue that comes with it. Michigan's cheating scandal meant so little they were ranked number 1 in the nation despite having a resume no better than Florida State's. Worse, in my opinion, says Dave. College football is no longer a meritocracy. It's a moneytocracy. In closing, Huck Herbstreit. P.S. What were you doing in Aiken, South Carolina? That's where my grandmother was born and raised. Well, Ira and I were getting ready to celebrate Florida State making it to the college football playoff. It was around noon 15 or so as we were driving back from Charlotte. We both were hungry. We're like, all right, this is where we're going to stop and set up shop. So we set up shop at a Waffle House in Aiken, South Carolina, right off the interstate, and then watched our hopes and dreams come unraveled. So, yeah, no longer meritocracy, Corey. Unfortunately, maybe Florida State has to wear this for everybody else. I don't take a lot of joy in that or solace, but maybe enough of a uproar is being created that this will help something like this never happen again, even with the 12-team playoff. But then you start thinking about 12 teams, 6 automatic bids to your highest conference champions. And then, man, it's going to be what? 4 other SEC teams, 3 other Big Ten teams, 2 other Big Ten teams. It doesn't seem like it's going to change all that much, maybe.
Probably not. We'll see. Each year is unique. Maybe Florida State and Clemson will both be good next year. It's been a while since that happened. But, yeah, it's just hard to know. It's hard to know. I do think I want to go back to what I said at the beginning of the show. I do not think they were anticipating or had any idea the outrage this would cause. Overall, like Jaden Daniels even came out on Thursday and said it was ridiculous. Jaden Daniels, who plays in the SEC, said that Florida State should have been in the playoff. It won't stop. It's not dying down. Go look at Kirk Herbstreit. Kirk Herbstreit tweeted because he's calling the Thursday night game. And it's the Patriots and the Steelers, I think.
Oh, it's a terrible game. Bailey Zappi versus Kenny Pickett.
Right. No, Kenny Pickett's not playing.
Oh yeah, sorry, Mitch Trubisky.
So it's 2 backup quarterbacks. And so he tweets out, can't wait to watch this game tonight. Can't wait to be here and watch this game tonight between the Patriots and Steelers. Two great defenses, going to be all about field position. In every single one of the comments after his tweet is, oh, you care about defense now. Wait, they don't even have their real quarterbacks. Why are you even there? Why are they even playing? It's nonstop. Yeah. It is nonstop. And there is no way. And look, Kirk Herbstreit doesn't care about social media, I'm sure. He looks at these Florida State fans as crybabies, I'm sure. But there's no way he thought this was going to be the reaction. None. He didn't know what he was doing in the moment. He had no idea to know because apparently he can't think that far ahead. I don't understand how he could not have foreseen this, but he didn't. And for the foreseeable future, every time he tweets about a team or tweets, it's going to be coming back at him. And it makes me laugh. Just like, I don't know if you follow the news, Aslan. I saw this today on my phone. Apparently, Kim Kardashian and Taylor Swift have a beef.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I'm not going to get into the whole thing. There was the controversy a few years ago with Kanye using her in a lyric, Taylor Swift in a lyric, and then he called Taylor Swift and asked if it was okay if he used this lyric. She said yes, but then he included the B word to describe her that she said didn't happen. Kim Kardashian is recording the conversation, posted on social media, and this is years ago. This might have been before COVID. Anyway, it all came back up because Taylor Swift was the Time Person of the Year, and she talked about that period in her life and how depressed it made her, that she got illegally recorded, and she also did not agree. She was lied about. Kim Kardashian lied about her because she did not give permission to use the B word, blah, 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 blah. I promise I don't care about this, folks. I was genuinely just like, what is this? So anyway, if you go and look at Kim Kardashian's Instagram posts, which I don't, but I did on Thursday just to see what this was about. It is all Taylor Swift fans.
Oh, Swifties.
Just tweeting snakes at her.
Because
she called Taylor Swift a snake 4 years ago. So it's nothing but snake emojis. And it will be probably for the rest of her life. Anytime, because Taylor Swift's a little bit more famous than Kim Kardashian, and Taylor Swift has a whole lot more fans than Kim Kardashian. So every time Kim Kardashian makes a post about anything, it will be met with a barrage of Taylor Swift fans tweeting Taylor Swift memes and snakes at her. And I feel like Kirk Herbstreit's in the same boat with Florida State fans. So good luck with that.
Yeah, this is somewhere on the spectrum between that and Dan Wolken. Like Dan Wolken, there were screenshots and emails saved during the Tennessee coaching search that ended up finally settling on Jeremy Pruitt. But there was an email exchange where he basically asked like the Tennessee AD, like, hey, is this all right? You want me to go ahead and tweet this? Like basically carrying the water for Tennessee. So for like a year, anytime he tweeted anything, Tennessee fans would be the first. It could be just about New Mexico State playing a good Mountain West game on a Saturday night. Tennessee fans would be like, oh, hey, remember that time you tried to get Greg Triano hired from Tennessee? Like we didn't forget. So yeah, buckle up, Kirk. Buckle up. Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com website. Promo code Warchant BOGO. Warchant BOGO. Convenient little bottle. You can take it anywhere. Pockets, purses, person, wherever you're at, you can carry it with you. It's only 1.93 fluid ounces, yet somehow has enough juice to get you going for 7 hours or more throughout your day, plus a boatload of nutrients. And oh yeah, vitamins, because it's called vitaminenergy.com. It's energy with benefits. In my hand, of course, a Workout Plus, a little sour apple. Easy on the palate, hard on the iron, though, buddy. That gym feels me. The gym feels me walking inside when I got the Vitamin Energy coursing through the veins. It's like, oh no, Slon's going to punish the plates today.
Yeah. The plates start trying to roll off the rack and get out of the gym.
Yeah, don't you want that kind of swag, everybody? You can buy one, you get one for free. This stuff's clinically proven, first and only to do that. So if they've got the guts to get their stuff tested, you know it's the real deal. VitaminEnergy.com. Noles behind this, hooking us up with that promo code WARCHANTBOGO, B-O-G-O. Dave from Bardstown, who's a medical professional, just ordered it because he knows it's going to make him better. So just saying. VitaminEnergy.com, promo code WARCHANTBOGO, B-O-G-O. Noleway 85. Wake up, Noles. Time to revolt. Corey, I was actually the guy in the hotel lobby bar with my daughter, and you and Z-Chan were watching the unveiling of the Made-for-TV Invitational that snubbed us.
Yeah.
I've been pissed off since that moment. Despite that, I bought Orange Bowl tickets. I'm trying to convince my best buddy, another diehard Nole fan who is also pissed off, to go to the game to support the team that is left. He wants to protest the game, but in the end, we are the Seminole Nation. I believe we should support the team. What would you say to convince my buddy to go to the game and maybe do some kind of protest at the game? Suggestions, another protest, but maybe let's protest more, rally around the troops, Corey. Give us a sales pitch. Listen, it's Miami, December 30th. It's going to be beautiful down there, and it's your team, everybody. I know that sounds like I'm lecturing. I'm not lecturing. It still is your favorite football team playing a game against another great brand, and you're going to see a lot of guys. We assume at this point now, right, Corey, they're going to be part of the mix for next year and the success that hopefully they can sustain. Surely you want to be there to support them and help them out. And it's always good to get a dub in Miami, just to let Miami know who really runs that stadium down there. But what else you got to rally this buddy to go to the game?
No, that's fair. I like what you said. It's it is what it is. It's it's going to be nice weather. It's going to be warm. There's going to be sunshine, as Kirby Smart kept saying. Yeah, man, sunny South Florida. That's all. I don't know. There's a casino down there. It's hard right now. If you're going to watch a 14-0 coronation or wanting to see this team win it all, I don't. We have no idea what the roster will be. We know Johnny Wilson's not playing. Obviously, we know Jordan Travis isn't playing. We know Thomas Schrader was another kid that went in the portal. Not that he was going to play anyway, but both teams are losing. Both teams, I think, are around 10 or 11 portal departures already. You're going to look at a game where you're probably looking at a team normally has 85 scholarship players. You're probably going to be looking at maybe 65 to 60 to 55 for each, maybe. And none of the big guys for Georgia, or other than Johnny Wilson, have actually come out and declared and said they're not playing. But those announcements will come. So just do it. I don't know, man. Do it for Norvell. Do it. Show up for Norvell. Show up for the guys that are coming back. And there are half the guys that play in that game or more will be Florida State Seminoles next year. So show them how much you appreciate all their hard work. That would be my selling point. Don't expect a great game. And I'm not saying expect them to lose by 70. I'm just saying it's not anything like any game that's been played this season. Yeah. So because there's no stakes, and there might not be a lot of great wide receiver depth, let's just say. So that, I guess my selling point was just to show your appreciation. But I can't sit here and tell people to go to a game because I get paid to go. Yeah. And I know you guys work, you use your well-earned, hard-earned money to go spend time to watch college football games and go to these cities. So if you have that disposable income and you want to go show this team how much you've appreciated this season and this climb, by all means, go for it.
FSU Oktoberfest. Wake up, Seminole Nation. What's the attitude of the coaches and players since the snub? Is it business and preparation as usual? If the coaches and players don't return to normal bowl game prep soon, the committee and ESPN will get exactly what they wanted. Thanks for your outstanding coverage of the program. We haven't seen them we haven't heard from Coach Norvell since Sunday when he had his very somber teleconference with Kirby Smart, the aforementioned teleconference that Corey mentioned. So we'll get a schedule, I think, next week here in a few days, actually, to know what the bowl prep's going to be. But we have not been around the actual team yet. But as soon as we are, practice observations, updates, video, all that stuff coming your way, everybody. So buckle up. We'll have it for you.
It's going to be an interesting build-up to that game. Who's going to be playing? I texted you about it, and I'm only bringing it up because we talked about it yesterday on yesterday's show. Obviously, I think we both think that they're probably in the market for a portal quarterback. Not even probably. They are in the market for a portal quarterback. If they get one, they're probably going to get one committed in the next week to 2 weeks, right? Well, that's also the same time you'd be starting practice for the bowl game. So then what does Tate Rodemaker do if somebody else is portaling to Florida State? What does Brock Glenn do? How will that impact at all the QB depth chart if a kid from the Pac-12, what's left of the Pac-12, decides to there's really the only two, like the kid from Washington State and the kid from Oregon State, those are the only two teams left out there. If one of them decides to come to Florida State, does Tate stay for the bowl game? Is Tate cool with it? Do you know what I mean? That's because he's got to take care of himself if he wants to go play somewhere next year, and he might not. He might be cool being a Florida State Seminole. He's already shown more loyalty than 99% of the quarterbacks in this country over the last half decade. So he's already done enough to always be a Seminole. But does that impact? That's the goofy game we're playing, Aslan. You know what I mean? Like, legitimately, right now, as we talk on December 8th, as you guys listen to this on December 8th, it's not a guarantee who will be in the quarterback room for Florida State for this game coming up in 3 weeks. It's so bizarre what we're living through, what this sport has become with the portal in the midst of all of these games that are still left to be played.
Candy Knoll, wake up. The country was woken up by the blatant corruption that is college football invitation this week. I've received expressions of sympathy from all kinds this week. Yeah, my former coworker at my station in Mississippi, who's a Penn State grad, messaged me on Facebook because I'm never even on Facebook, but I was there to do something for the Warchant page, and he was like, I saw a notification. I'm like, oh, wow, I haven't spoke to you in 10 years.
Right.
Nonetheless, one point I had not seen made, I believe we can say we know the fix was in, and we know the committee was in on it, specifically because they kept voting Florida State 4th or 5th. When Jordan got hurt, if they had dropped Florida State down to 6 or 7 as an undefeated team, the overwhelming response and protest would have been made earlier, and the committee would have had to answer for it.
Yeah.
I believe they purposely kept Florida State in the top 4 until the end when it was too late to do anything about it and they could disconnect their phones, shut down their website. Still hurting for the players. Wish I could do something to let them know how proud of this team I am. Go Noles.
I would say this. That's a very good point that has not been brought up. There were no one-loss teams ahead of them at all until when it mattered. And you wonder what the backlash would have been if say, going into the Louisville game, Florida State's 6th or 7th or 8th. Behind all these one-loss teams, that there would have been some backlash there, I think. But, they did it 9 years ago. When they started this thing, they did it. They started leaping undefeated Florida State with one-loss team. So there is a precedent there. And they didn't get that much heat for it. In fact, it became normalized, where we have people that get paid millions of dollars to talk college football to tell us this is normal. Yeah, it's a tough decision. The zero-loss team that almost has 2 or 3 other losses, the zero-loss team, or the one-loss team that also almost lost 2 or 3 other games. Who can decide? Who can say who's best? I mean, it's just yes. But that's a good point. They waited till the horse was out of the barn to that's what. It's the disingenuousness. That's not a word. I don't know what the right word is there, but I know
insincerity.
That ain't it.
I don't know.
Well, there's got to be a way to phrase. Anyway, those shows, the 5 weeks leading up to the actual one that matters, were all nonsense. Absolute, utter nonsense. They don't matter. They did it to TCU, actually, back in 2014.
Correct.
I think TCU was 3rd in the country.
Yep. And
then won their championship game by like 50 points, 40 points, something like that, and then dropped to 6. So nothing that happens in the weeks leading up prove anything. They're not an indicator of what they're actually going to do. They mean nothing. And I think I said this on headlines, or maybe I said it to you. I don't remember. If Florida State's in the playoff hunt next year, I'm not taking part in our weekly college football reveal live shows because it's a mockery. It literally makes no difference. It like you don't believe it. It's not real. It's nonsense. It's just for ESPN to get ratings, and I don't want to be a part of it anymore. Because nothing they did on the middle of November, all the way up to leading up to the championship game, nothing they said, no way that they ranked and stacked those teams had any real bearing on the final product. So what's the point of that charade? What's the point of even doing it?
The 407 Knoll, wake up, fellas. First off, thank you, guys. I've listened to you every day for years on the way to work. My Spotify end-of-year highlights had me as a top 10 listener to the show.
There we go.
First time jumping on the Express. So in the spirit of that, I live in Orlando, but I'm from Daytona, home of recruiting hotspot Mainland High and the happy painter Bob Ross.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I did not know that either.
Good documentary on him that I watched a few years ago on Bob Ross. Yeah.
Our guy, the 407 Knoll, was the one who offered up the protest of going all black and wearing Unconquered on the back of the uniforms, which I like that. I approve of that. Do you think Do you think there are certain position groups that the portal can really help with by bringing in plug-and-play guys like a Keon, and certain position groups that are better left for recruiting and development because of chemistry, things of that nature? Maybe the offensive line, back end of your defense.
I definitely think the offensive line is one that you can get some plug-and-play guys, but the best way to get a dominant offensive line or a good offensive line, I think, is years of development together. Because you don't see a ton of great ones enter the portal. Like, it's weird, right? Like, I know they're out there.
True freshman All-American, I think, from A&M just put his name in there, or put his name in there a few days ago. But
he was an O lineman? I thought he was a D lineman.
No.
Okay, all right. But did he play much? Like, I'm
saying, he was a freshman All-American.
They do that if you play 5 games. There aren't that many freshmen that play that position. My point being, you don't see like the Dylan Gabriels of the offensive line. I guess he's not a good example. What's a good example? I don't know that there is one. The really good offensive linemen usually stay at Michigan or Georgia or Alabama. They just do. They're recruited there, they get developed there, and they stay there. Now, that could change. None of these precedents matter anymore, but it seems like that's been the case. It's like you're going to get – you can go get a Jeremiah Byers or a Dylan Gibbons or a Casey Roddick in the portal, and they're fine players. You don't go get the number 8 player in the draft in the portal typically. One of those types of linemen, they stay and like the tackle at Penn State. They're raised there. That's where they get developed. But I think that's like all the other positions though, and that one too, man. If there's like you said, I guess if there's a freshman All-American out there, go get him. It worked for Miami. They plugged and played, and they had a much better offensive line than they did last year with the kid from Alabama and then the kid from UCF, and then they also had the true freshman that's really good. Go get him, gang. Yeah. What's his name? The true freshman offensive lineman at Miami? You remember his brother? His brother's the linebacker. Yeah, something like that. Maybe. Yeah, go get those guys. But I think every other position, yeah, man, plug and play. Yeah.
Chase Bisonitis, 6'6", 320 offensive lineman. Started all 12 games for A&M. Only graded out at 57.5 though. So.
Well, okay. Well, and that's PFF. But that's what I like. Guys that they play. That doesn't mean they play well. If they play, they're going to make some of those lists. Yeah. Because there just aren't that many to choose from.
NYC Noel. I think I read his question, right? I think we mentioned it earlier.
You brought him up, yeah.
Yeah, about the culture and whether the fact that they strike the iron while it was hot. Random_ John. Good morning, Azon and Corey. 2 questions. Ira doesn't want a real protest. He wants armbands, which amounts to nothing. It changes nothing. It's the same as wearing different shirts when your abuser is around. What changes a fabric edition make? The message it sends is passiveness, acceptance, that what happened is okay. Here's our edgy armband. Take that, committee. 2, what has Jim Phillips ever done to benefit the ACC? Every move he makes has benefited Notre Dame or the Big Ten in some way. As much as we hate him, would Swafford have made one of his backroom power plays to get FSU in the playoff? Okay, 3 questions. Why aren't coaches in the ACC more outraged? Anyways, love you guys, you listeners, and the team. Go Noles.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to the last question. Dabo came out on Thursday and said that he thought it was wrong and it wasn't fair to the rest of the team, that just because one guy gets hurt, you're not. So he at least did his part. I think it's mainly like they haven't had any press conferences, so there's been no reason to talk to them. I do think once they start getting interviewed, they'll all weigh in. But yeah, it would have been cool if they would have, if all of them would have come out with a statement, all of them, because it affects all of them. Like, I know the new coach at Syracuse isn't thinking he's going to be playing in a playoff next year, or the coach at Virginia or the coach at Virginia Tech. Like, they're not – but it's their conference that got screwed. It's their conference that got spit upon, and they should be up in arms about it. Whether Florida State's your rival or not, whether you're recruiting against them or not, y'all are all in the same conference together. Whether Florida State don't want to be in that conference for very long, but right now you're conference mates, and your whole conference just got, dumped upon. So it would have been nice to see some sort of, coordinated effort among all the coaches to say how awful the decision was, or just some of them come out on their own, but none of them did. So that was a little disappointing. What protest do y'all want?
I don't know.
Other than not playing, which to me is the ultimate protest, and would be the one that actually raises the most eyebrows. Like, I don't know what y'all want them to do, not refuse to take the field, go down there, but then refuse to take the field. Again, as we just heard from I can't remember my man's name that was in the lobby with me and Z-Chan. He's going to be in Miami.
Yeah.
Like, you want him to go down to Miami, spend all that money to go support that team, and then the team decides to not play? And so he just wasted that money. Like and I'm not saying you want that, Random John. I'm saying, but the only protest that would actually matter at all, would be not to show up. And I don't see that as a real possibility. Not now. I think they could have declined the bowl bid on Sunday and said, we're done. The season's over. We're 13-0 and we're champs. And Louisville could have gone or Notre Dame could have gone. That would have been what petty Corey Clark would have done. And I'd have been, but I get he wants these extra practices. I get 15 practices are very, very important. They really are. More important than the game, quite frankly. But, other than not showing up, I don't know what kind of protest can you do? Wearing black, I guess, but they wear black anyway. They wear black once a year, so that wouldn't be. I don't know. I don't know what the right. Let's just say I haven't heard a great idea yet. Ira, I don't think was saying that's what they should do is armbands. I'm just saying somebody asked him about a protest, and he's like, I don't know, they could do that. I think anyway. I think that was the context. But short of like taking a knee every play and just making a mockery of the game, but then you feel like you're screwing the people that spent all that money to go watch you play. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
Aviator Noel, loved your article about galvanizing the fan base. Corey, this sucks right now, but I think this program is going to be relevant for the next decade. We have always been a thorn in the SEC side and better than we're supposed to be. ESPN is going to hate us more over the next 10 years as we keep ruining their ideal playoffs. On that note, Mark from Naples, wake up before Conspiracy Sunday.
Thank you, by the way. I should have said thank you for the compliment on this column.
Before Conspiracy Sunday, Mark says, I was relatively fine letting the younger players on the roster taking over for 2024, the guys who have worked hard and paid their dues to get on the field. Now I'm thinking Mike needs to go full portal again, create a 2024 roster that will destroy everything in its path. Sorry if feelings are hurt. FSU needs to show the world in 24 that it not only belongs with the big boys, but that it can simply line up and kick their ass. You guys agree?
Yeah, that I've come to that conclusion. I wasn't of that mindset until 4 days ago, 3 days ago. Whenever Sunday afternoon about 3 o'clock happened, because I had a couple of hours to like decompress and kind of come to grips with what had just happened. I'm like, yeah, this needs, as somebody else has termed it, you need to build the Death Star. Now, I don't know if that's possible because you just have so many guys leaving, and a lot of your best players and your most talented players are going to be freshmen. So it's hard to have an incredible roster like that. But I just don't think you need to take a step back. I texted you and Ira because I was listening to Tom and Jeff talk about the quarterback situation. And you guys know I'm a big fan of Rodemaker as a person, as a Seminole. But, there's nothing we've seen or haven't seen because he hasn't gotten a chance to think that there's a chance that if Tate Rodemaker or Brock Glenn is your quarterback next year and you just decide, look, this isn't we're not going to be all that great anyway. Let's just this was Tom Lang's point, which is a valid one. I'm about to criticize it, but it's a valid point. Like if we're not going to be a championship contender anyway, why go spend the money in the roster space for a one-year rental when you could be developing Brock Glenn and Luke Kromenhoek, and then in 2025 is your chance to really take off and make a run at the playoff? Well, my thought would be you're going to take some serious lumps next year if you have a very inexperienced quarterback to go along with a team that doesn't have Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson and Jaheim Bell and Jared Verse on the other side, and maybe Patrick Payton, who knows? Like, you're losing some serious players. I think you need a stabilizing force at quarterback that is a good college football player. And I don't care if you don't make the playoff. You can't slide back into the 6-6 range. And there's no guarantee with the way the roster that we know it right now, looking at it, because nobody's come from the portal yet. But if you just look at who's coming back for Florida State next year, it is not a playoff team. Now, it could be. The portal's wide open. You get 8-10 guys that make you a playoff team instantly. I think that's where you go. I don't think you use this as a rebuilding or a bridge year. I think because of what happened on Sunday, you attack it. And you say, nope, we're going to get the absolute best roster we can for this year, and that probably includes bringing in a quarterback.
I'm almost hesitant to ask a follow-up because we're at the hour mark and we got like 7 more questions.
Oh, okay. I'll be quick on all the other ones, though.
But, you spent the money you spent on this team, and those players are going to leave, so the money is back available. It maybe it doesn't work that way because you paid the money out, right? But
I was going to say, it's not like there's a cap where you freed your space. Those kids kept the money. Like, they're not giving it back, so.
I don't know. I don't disagree with the sentiment here to continue to build this thing into a juggernaut, but I would just assume that this wasn't a one-off, though, right? I mean, I know the hashtag was going for it all in 2023, but is there trepidation or concern that maybe that amount, that the payroll that was available, the coffers will not be replenished to the degree they were last year? Because it sounds like we're having to make decisions here about.
No, I didn't mean it like that. No, I think the budget would still be the same, or maybe even high. I mean, they're going to triple their membership in the course of about a week. Yeah. They're probably going to, or at least by the end of the month, they'll have tripled their membership that they had going into this thing. So the money will be there. But I think a lot of people thought, okay, with this recruiting class coming in and the recruiting class you had last year and some of these younger guys, 2024 will be just stay pretty good year. Like, it's going to be a step back. You're not going to have all these. You're not going to have 2 first-round picks. You're not going to have a Heisman Trophy quarterback candidate. So it's going to be more of like it'd be more like 2022, like 9 or 10 wins, somewhere around there, maybe 8 wins. You're fine with that as long as you stay pretty good. But because then 2025, when this freshman class is now ready to take off, buddy, they're a little older. You can plug in a few holes, and you're going to be awesome. So. I don't think it's a matter of the money. I think it's a matter of the urgency to make sure that this roster is as good. The roster in 2024 is as good or is absolutely close to as good as you can get as 2023. Like, do not take a step back. Do not even take a step sideways. Like, you go for it. Like, go for it. The portal is wide open, and they didn't probably think they were going to need to get this many kids out of the portal. But you're trying to win now. Like, I guess that's my point. And even if you go into the portal and crush it, and you turn a 6-win team into a 9 or 10-win team, that's important. You've got to stay relevant, in my opinion. You've got to stay in the conversation. You do not want to be 23rd in the country next year. You do not want to be in others receiving votes. You want to be in the top 10 and top 5 in the country next year. That is the goal. Get to the playoffs next year. Like, we thought this year was playoffs or bust. Next year, get to the playoff. Get there. You got to be in the top 12. You got to win the ACC. Get you a roster that can win the ACC. I don't think... Personally, this is just me, and I want to be proven wrong. I would love to be proven wrong. I don't think there's a quarterback on the roster that can win the ACC next year. I think Brock Glenn could be awesome in a couple years. He is not, I don't think, ready to lead this team to an ACC championship next year, and Cromon Hawk's a true freshman. So you might need to go get a guy that can do it. That's all.
I wonder
but
how
I'm fired up, man.
Yeah.
I might feel differently 2 weeks from now, and it ain't my money that I'm having everybody spend. So I get that too.
Speaking of money, I wonder how thick the envelope for the Christmas card that's going to Mike Elko's house from Adam Fuller is going to be. I didn't realize this was a real thing, but I guess there was, murmurs of possibly Elko making a run at Adam Fuller.
Oh.
And now...
They have a history, right? Didn't they have a history together?
Yeah, Richmond. All roads lead back to Richmond. But on Thursday evening, Pete
I like
Thamel...
I like how we're burying this.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a big deal. I never thought he would leave to go to A&M, but Adam Fuller signed a 3-year deal with Florida State, so which includes a raise. We don't have the financials on it. I don't know if Adam was already making 7 figures last year. I can maybe pull that up what he was making last year, but good move, obviously, to keep him around. Yeah,
Adam, also, I love you. Literally, I think he's my favorite person to talk to. I don't know if he loves me or us, but I love talking to that guy. I think he's awesome. Go get yourself – you need to be a member of the Battle's End. You just got yourself a nice raise. Go be a member of the Battle's End. Are they allowed to do that? I guess – could assistant coaches? Probably not, I guess, right?
Oh, why not? I mean,
who knows, man? Is there anybody is anybody watching? Is there anybody in the security booth? I don't think so. Like, Adam, you just made it a substantial amount more money. Go get yourself a defensive end, big dog. Go get yourself one. There's a lot. Hey, and then you'll be a head coach in a few years, man. This is how it works. You go get awesome players. You've proven you can do it. Because 2 years ago, we're like, what is this bald dude doing? What is this defense? What's he do? And now all of a sudden, we're worried he's going to be poached from A&M because he got really he obviously knew we all know now he can coach and coach well, but he got a lot of really good players to coach too. So hopefully he can keep that streamline going.
Now it's Alex Atkins people want to run out of town. How quickly the turntables,
That's right.
Yeah. Fuller's contract that he extended last year he got $1.2 million this past season. He was going to make 1.3 in 25. So, I mean, he's probably going to be making like 1.5, I'm guessing, at the floor of this. So, hey, man, that's what happens when, you lead this defense the way they did the last 2 weeks. That's a crazy thing too, right? Like if the narrative around this team week 1 coming out of the LSU game was more about, look what they did to Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors in that offense, and less about what is Florida State's offense capable of doing. They would have gone 2.5 months being talked about being this suffocating defense and all, but we waited 2 weeks to really fully embrace it. So sorry about that, everybody. Back to the questions. Big B7034. What's up, fellas? Been a while. Just want to say the season has been one for the ages, and I want to thank the team, Warchant staff, and the fans for making it memorable.
It's our pleasure.
Yeah. Love you, Bakari. Now that Coach Norvell has proven he can guide and build a great football team, or great football teams, plural, what do you think he has left to prove, or what does he have to do now? Blow teams out, take on the mantra of we'll play anyone, anywhere. Kind of already doing that.
Yeah, I would say don't do that.
Yeah, turn
turn
the program into the evil empire and fully embrace all the FSU hate. What do you think? Thanks for the great content and keep up the great work. Go Noles.
So what else does he have to prove? I don't know, win a national championship, but he didn't get a chance to do that this year, although he put together a program and a team that should have been allowed to compete for it. So just I guess you would say stack them together. Maybe here's one. Prove you can have a really good offense without Jordan Travis. There you go.
All right.
That's my
there we go. That was good.
that's what I want
brevity.
him to do.
Love it.
For next year.
Geo Noel, wake up. Hello to the greatest podcast crew. 100 emoji.
Amen.
This reminded me of 2014 when we had never before heard of an eye test. Every week we would win, but we would also fall in the polls to think of certain things that had been said on the game day show, especially about 3 to 4 weeks ago when the multi-screen display was up and they had us out. Kirk pointed it out. To that would be the 4 in. It's amazing how hard this team worked, and it ended like this. My question is, how far do we go with a narrative until it's a moot point and we just move on, even with the governor being involved? Thanks for all that you do. P.S. Corey, the deep connection with Alabama is true for Greg, but his mom went to FSU and he grew up a Noles fan, so I wonder how that's playing out at home. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's funny. So you saw what I tweeted last night because I think I talked about it on the show. Sorry, on
Wednesday
night.
Yeah, before he went to bed. That was nice. Firing off angry tweets at 12:35.
6 of 11 for 56 yards and minus 27 yards rushing in the national championship game. And then I was like, I don't know if Rodemaker could have reached those lofty numbers, those clutch numbers, but it's too bad he didn't give a shot or whatever. And then, I had a few Alabama fans, and I don't check my mentions much. They tweeted back at me and said, well, yeah, he cracked his ribs in that game. As if that was a point they were trying to prove. What does that mean?
Playing hurt. Playing hurt.
No, but my point is Alabama won a national championship with basically no quarterback play at all. They just handed it off and played defense, and were able to win a national championship. But Florida State couldn't have done that, right? That's the thought, and it's in the irony that it's coming from McElroy, who won a championship by completing 6 passes and getting sacked 7 times. His team won a championship. He's going to sit there on ESPN and say because Florida State doesn't have a great quarterback, they can't compete for one. Alabama won one, and he knows he's wasn't a great quarterback. Certainly not that night. He had good moments. I'm not saying he was a horrible quarterback. He was a good quarterback, fine quarterback. They won a national championship with Jacob Coker. Like, Rodemaker is as good as Coker ever was. And he's as good as Greg McElroy is with a cracked rib. And yet, who knows? Anyway, so I just thought that was funny that they think that was proving a point. Like, that, I was like, yeah, you're proving my point. That great quarterback play isn't the end-all, be-all of a football team. But anyway, sorry, go ahead. That was too long to show.
MyBookie.ag, promo code is Warchant. Use that for an instant cash deposit bonus. It applies to their live casino, live betting, futures, everything under the MyBookie umbrella. We got a football game this weekend, everybody. Maybe a game that's a little bit more pure than the rest of the college ones. It's Army versus Navy. Guest picker is going to be Bill Belichick on game day if you're one of the 1% of people that are going to continue to watch ESPN like me. Navy getting 3 points from the Black Knights. The total on that, 27.5. Does feel like maybe like a 14-13 slobber knocker, right?
Yeah. It's not a lot of 51-44 Army-Navy games.
Yeah. I'll trust Monken. I'll trust Monken and the Black Knights giving away 3 points there. So maybe you've got a hunch. Play it if you'd like. And do it at mybookie.ag. And use the promo code WARCHANT for that instant cash deposit bonus. The Walking Nolo 1, Corey. Completely off topic. But for me, distraction helps right now. Question for both of you. Which century and where would you like to live if you could go back in time? Here's the catch. Any physical ailment that you have now, you would have then. So, for example, me, I can't see far off. Thank goodness for contacts. So I'd have that characteristic with me then. I think I would like to go back to colonial America times and shake George Washington's hand. What say you? Go Noles.
What a question. It's hard to imagine wanting to go back, like live or just go visit. Because it sounds like we'd have to live. Why would I? Nobody would want to go live in the 1700s.
Simpler times.
Right, but if you broke your leg, they just sawed it off or shot you and said, he's not worth it. He's done. He's lame. We're gonna shoot him. There was no medicine. There was no antibiotic. No, I can't. Most people still thought the Earth was flat.
Wait,
I would
what?
say I would go. No, I don't think so. Kyrie Irving thinks it might still be, but I think it's round. I think there's photos of it. I'm trying to I've always said I would want to go back to the Dallas. Mark from Naples will love this, but I'd like to be in Dallas the day Kennedy was shot.
Ooh.
So I could have shot him myself.
Whoa.
Just kidding, folks. No, because I always, that's the greatest mystery of our time. I think we all know that it couldn't have been just the one dude acting alone. But who all was there? Like, where was it coming from? Not that many people coordinated a huge lie about the grassy knoll and the 4 or 5 shots and all this nonsense and the magic bullet. I would like to see, I don't think I would see this, I would like to see if it was all in the up and up. And it really was just 3 shots coming from the 6th floor. I don't think it was. I think there might have been something going on behind that fence, but I would have liked to have been there to see it. But I don't want to live in the 60s. You know, I wouldn't want to go back and live in the 60s. I love it now. I love being able to look at a computer in my hand. Yeah. You know how big the computers were in like 1963, Aslan? They took up entire buildings.
Yeah.
And now we have them in our pockets. So I kind of like where I am now.
Yeah. Take me back to the height of the Persian Empire. Help my people out. I would take an RPG with me and wipe out the Greeks of Thermopylae. And then we'd see who's got the cool legends. Yeah, because 300 of you held off thousands of Persians. Liars. Liars.
Yep.
Woolsey 321 Noel.
Hey, isn't it like the history is written by the victors?
Yeah.
That's how it works, yeah.
But hey, maybe they outnumbered the Persians and then decided to make this whole
I'm sure
thing.
they did, and they made themselves look like heroes.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Woolsey 321 Noel. Wake up, gents. The committee had a choice of which school to screw. They could have made the narrative about how Bama could jump Texas. Any speculation as to why they didn't go that route, it would have been almost as bad, but not quite. I guess this is the biggest problem I have is that we were treated like the girl all your friends... Wait, let's not use that analogy. So, yeah, this all started well before Jordan got hurt, as already pointed out.
Yeah, correct. And look, man, and why Washington and Michigan? Why were they above reproach? Like, what about Florida State's resume was... when you looked at it, worse than Michigan's. Michigan beat no one except Ohio State. They got to play Iowa. I promise you, Louisville, I don't know if Louisville would have beaten Iowa, but they're the same team, essentially. You know what I mean? They're evenly matched. I know Louisville has a better offense, but I'm just saying, that would have been a 13-10 game. So Michigan's best win and only win that should move the needle was Ohio State. And Florida State, I think, had as good a resume, beat more bowl teams than Michigan did. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
I tried, everybody. I tried to start the narrative that it didn't matter that Texas beat Bama head-to-head, but you all pushed back on me and called me an idiot. I tried, everybody.
But it did matter that Texas beat them head-to-head because that's why Texas is 3.
Well, we shouldn't have made it a big deal. And then at that point, it would have been like, whatever. They're not the better team right now. Alabama is, and Florida State's undefeated.
Oh,
Good night,
I see
everybody.
what you're saying.
But also,
so you
Jordan,
were playing the long game. I got you.
But also, again, man, I don't know. This is we're like going to be an hour and a half on the show, and I don't know. I don't know. I'm naive. I really think that if Jordan Travis is healthy, they're in. I don't know. I just do. So,
I somebody would have had to be left out though.
Yes,
Because
correct.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, who do you leave out? Because they're not leaving out Alabama.
I agree. Yeah, I never thought they were going to leave an SEC team out. That's why I was saying I think they had the out. The Alabama plays in the toughest conference in all of football, yada, yada. Their quarterback figured it out in week 5 after they'd played Texas, and they're completely different. Sorry, Texas, because you really didn't look all that great towards the end of the season either, even in some of those games with Quinn Ewers. They could have probably sold it. I really think it wouldn't have been nearly as contentious as what Florida State's had to deal with.
But I think they thought they would get more pushback from that. So if we work under the premise
yes,
that
with
Alabama
Florida State not having a quarterback, with Florida State not having their starting quarterback, they erroneously thought they could get away with it a little bit more smoothly. But if
they thought the outrage would have been worse for leaving out Texas, who beat Alabama head-to-head, than leaving out an undefeated Florida State team without their quarterback. I think, honestly, it would have been almost equal. I think not quite. I think this is more than what would have happened then because Texas did have a loss. It's not like they were perfect. Florida State was perfect. That's why it bothers so many people is they did everything they could. Texas, if they beat Oklahoma, wouldn't have had they wouldn't have been passed over by Alabama. So Florida State did everything they could and controlled their own destiny. It didn't matter. But I think that's what they thought, man. Now that you said it out loud, I think they thought Alabama in over Texas would get more outrage than Alabama in over Florida State, and they were wrong. Because Lord knows Alabama had to be in. So that's what they were left with. Do we put them in with Texas or do we put them in with Florida State? Well, Florida State doesn't have their quarterback. That seems like an easy out. Not realizing that most people who value sports and love sports and love college football really appreciate teams that go undefeated.
And at the same time, I think if Ewers is out, I think Texas gets shafted. I hope they wouldn't do that to Washington because Washington's like a feel-good story.
You think a 13-0 Texas gets shafted because they don't have their quarterback?
No, 12-1 Texas.
Oh, yeah, but that's fine because they're 12-1. They lost the game. But Florida State didn't lose a game. So I get it. I just think it comes back to that for most people. It's like, what else could they have done? And I disagree. I do think that Jordan Travis is healthy. They were already lining up the ways that Florida State might not make it, that an SEC champion would vault them, even if Florida State had Jordan Travis.
Speaking of Texas and Alabama, Teacher Noles says, moving forward in future seasons, I will look at other teams' games and always wonder if this is going to be the game that's going to screw Florida State at the end of the year. There's no greater priority than getting out of this crap conference. Also says, I hope that someone develops a computer ranking that somehow says Florida State is number 1. We cite that ranking and declare a national championship, have a parade, fly banners, recognize it in Doak, sell T-shirts, the whole bit. Screw everyone else.
I mean, does anybody listening to this know somebody that writes code?
Right.
Tell them to get on it. We will honor it. Wake Up Warchant will recognize it. Just let us know. Get somebody to come up with any formula at all, and we'll as long as it has Florida State number 1, we'll declare them national champs.
Speaking of which, I skipped over this one accidentally. Sorry, Weldon FSU 73. Can you see the committee using a form of the BCS to decide the top 12 teams next year, regardless of the Power 5 champions getting auto bids?
Man, I thought when I heard it was going to 4 teams way back when, they probably made the announcement in 11. I was like, man, that's awesome. Now just use the BCS computers for those 4 spots.
Yeah.
Like, why was it good enough for 2 teams, but then all of a sudden when you go to 4 teams, you have to get all these empty suits in a room to discuss eye test and game control?
It'd be the other way around, you would think, right? Like, we only can pick 2 teams. We really need the human element and big debate, but 4 teams, they had it backwards.
So I think I saw this, that if they were going by the computer models, the BCS models of yesteryear, that Florida State would have been 4th.
Yes, correct.
Correct. They would have been 4th.
And Alabama would have been 3rd, which is kind of probably the way I would have ranked it.
And that's right. You tweeted that. I would have disagreed with you, but I'm not going down that road again. But yeah, the BCS computers had Florida State in. The AP has Florida State number 4, and the coaches poll has Florida State number 4. The only poll that didn't have Florida State in the top 4 was the only one that mattered. Weird.
Well, you just disagree with me because you want to be in New Orleans, and if Florida State was third, they would have been New Orleans against Washington. I get it.
No, I disagree because Texas beat Alabama. That's why I disagree with that. But then I say that, Florida State lost to Notre Dame and got to play for the 93 championship, and Notre Dame didn't. So I'm a hypocrite.
Nole for life. Class of 2007. Wake up, Corey Naslund. I've not been able to get over the biggest screw job in college football history. There you go. More accurate. Bret Hart appreciates the clarification. I probably never will. That said, at some point, we as a collective fan base will eventually have to make lemonade out of these lemons. So with that said, the only positive I can think of is that this accelerates FSU's exit from this hellhole of a conference that is the ACC. There have been robust discussions on the tribal council for a while, arguing for the SEC or the Big Ten as the best destination for FSU. You have both have seemed to be pro-SEC when the subject of realignment has been discussed on the podcast in the past. So my question to you all is, after the biggest screw job in college football history, knowing that the SEC and ESPN were involved in screwing our beloved Noles, are you finally able to say, F the SEC, go Big Ten?
No.
I don't want to go to West Lafayette in November.
No,
I don't want to go
does.
to East Lansing in October.
I would say
Pass.
90% of the people listening to this wouldn't want that either. Now, look, you want the Big Ten over this. Big Ten is absolutely your second. It's like your safety school. You try to get into Harvard. Well, maybe not Harvard. They've had a rough couple of days. Some of the schools up there, but those kids, those great kids that have their dream school and then their safety school. The SEC is the dream because of the fan bases and the location and the proximity. But the Big Ten will absolutely do in a pinch. The Big Ten would absolutely be a great landing spot as a safety conference. So if you land there, cool. You're competing for national championships. You have to win your conference now to have any shot to compete for a national championship, and they'll probably screw you and put you on and send you on the road for the first game of the playoffs. But if you're in the SEC or the Big Ten, you just got to finish in the top 3 or 4 of that conference, and you're getting in. So you absolutely have to be in one of those conferences here soon.
Braun Scrat. Let me blow up this avatar, see what we're dealing with here. No, it's the old Cowgirls represent.
Oh, all right, good.
I want to say we're almost done, Corey, but I think we got like 5 more.
Have they? Oh my gosh!
No, it's like Hydra.
Let's go. Come on, let's go quick. I'll give a 9-word answer here.
Wake up. Did you see the Charlie Baker NCAA proposition, Corey? Thoughts on that one about NCAA paying college athletes?
I mean, what's the rush, NCAA? You could have done this 25 years ago. Meanwhile, you got head coaches making $11 million a year, and now all of a sudden you feel like, oh, maybe that's not all that fair. That all these coaches are millionaires and the players get books. We'll see how it works, man. It's too much in the infancy stages to make a real educated opinion on it. I will say that eventually this is what's going to happen. These players are going to be employees because nobody likes what's going on now, where it's free agency every year. You can't sign kids to 4-year contracts. You sign them to 1-year contracts and then have to hold on. It's not good for the sport. It's been great for Florida State, the portal, I get it. But you also want to be able to know what your roster is going to be from year to year, to build. And nobody can. Literally nobody can. So but you can't blame the players for going and getting money somewhere else or playing time somewhere else. So to alleviate that, yes, I think there will be eventually, sometime in our lifetime, not only will the NCAA have an arm to pay these players, there will be a cap. And each team will be operating under that cap. And then the cheating will start again.
AF Nole fan, wake up, gents. Long week. Noles have been wronged in a way they'll never go away. I say embrace the hate, and I love angry Twitter Corey.
Oh, thank you.
I can only ask, would it be too much to ruin the Orange Bowl broadcast and any other event for the Seminole faithful to chant F Kirk Herbstreit? So they have to mute the game. I'm sure Georgia would jump in as well. I normally turn the other cheek, but this egregious screw job needs to be economically painful for the perpetrators. I love this.
I always say that because the F Kirk Herbstreit has the right flow. It's got the 1 syllable and then the 2 syllables. You can't do that with Tessitore, and you can't do that with ESPN, or I guess you could with Fowler, but Fowler's not really to blame. He's just calling a couple games here and there. Reese Davis, I guess that helps. McElroy. Okay, you can do it with all of them. McElroy, Reese Davis, Herbstreit. And then, I don't know, have big posters and fat heads of Booger McFarland. So, I mean, I don't know. You don't want to – just don't yell it around like 8-year-olds and 7-year-olds. Be off to your side. Be off to the side, not cussing in front of them. Although, do it. Who cares?
Big Steve-O 22, good morning, gentlemen. Been a while since I last posted as I was saving my post for when we either made it to the playoffs or won the title. Yeah, that's tough.
Well, yeah.
Personal
Made it to a New Year's 6 game that's not on New Year's.
Let's celebrate the most important part of his post, and that is, as a side note, my youngest son, who had the heart condition, has been doing amazing.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Wants to play hockey and soccer, actually, so he will see what the doctors say. That's
okay,
great,
awesome.
man.
That's cool.
Heck yeah. All right, Kelsey Riggs, College Football Live, brought up an amazing point. Given the criteria of the committee, they place an importance on the one thing you cannot control, injuries. FSU checked every box and still got screwed. Now we get the Orange Bowl. Is it a lose-lose situation, right? If Florida State wins, who cares? Georgia don't want to be there. If Florida State loses, we told you didn't belong.
Well, look, if the whole Florida State team that's intact, that was intact for Louisville, say Brock Glenn, you trade him for Tate Rodemaker. If they were going to play the Orange Bowl against this Georgia team, I think they would beat them. I legitimately do, because I know Georgia's going to lose some guys. But but it's just I don't know. It can't prove anything. They're not the same teams. The team that would have been playing Michigan in Pasadena is not the team that will be playing Georgia. It's not even close. It won't be close. So but it's there's no winning here. I guess you could win if you actually won the game 50-6, but you're not going to be constructed to beat Georgia, maybe at all, but certainly not by enough of a score that would turn people's heads and be like, oh, did we make a mistake? Because your best players aren't going to play, and you don't blame them, because why would they? So that's the nature of college football in 2023. So there is really no, other than getting young guys experience and getting them snaps against a good program and 15 practices, there's not a huge upside to the game itself, win or lose, because you're not going to beat the real Georgia team either, even if you beat them.
Noel Boyo 2, wake up, still in shock at what happened. Corey is probably the most angry person I've heard talk about this. Riddle me this, gentlemen. If it was an unbiased committee, they would have seen Florida State had the better win against LSU, especially because Florida State did not have to knock out Jaden Daniels to secure a victory.
Right.
But unfortunately, we all have our biases, Noel Boyo 2. We all do. Big question. How do you think let me just read it verbatim. How do you think either Cam Ward or DJ Uiagalelei changes the outlook of 2024?
So,
we kind of touched on that a little bit earlier. But yeah.
But whatever the war would be, I think Cam Ward is better than DJU. I think he'd be better for this offense, but I think they'd both be upgrades. Maybe not long-term over Brock Glenn, because we have no idea what he's going to be, but I can promise you better than what it would look like in Ireland with Brock Glenn. Either one of those guys. There's something to be said, and they're good. I mean, they both had really good years this past year, so it would be an upgrade. And I would think the wins above replacement for what will be on the Florida State roster at quarterback. I think it's probably an extra 2 wins at least. Probably.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a conservative
quarterback
estimate,
is important. I know we've been sitting here talking about how Florida State should have gotten a chance, and they should have. But through the long course of the season, yeah, man, Cam Ward is an upgrade over what you have right now. So is DJU.
I guess to Tom's point, though, like, what is there a significant difference in a 9-4 Florida State versus a 7-6 Florida State?
Yes, I think so. I absolutely think so. I think you want to keep this momentum going.
I mean, is 9 wins keeping them? I mean,
yeah. I could tell you what stops the momentum is 6 wins.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So maybe it doesn't. You're not stacking great season upon great season, but you're not having a 10-win season, a 13-win season, and then cutting it in half or dropping by 4 or 5 games. Like, that's what you want to avoid. Whether you win a national championship next year or not, you just want to stay in this rarefied air. You want to stay up near the top. That's what I think is why it's important to make sure you have a very, very good roster in 2024.
Executive decision. Last question. Winkles.
Thank God.
Wake up. Never would have imagined 13-0 would feel as bad or maybe even worse than going 5-7.
Well, hey, come on now. I get you, but don't do that. 5-7 was gross. No. Remember all the good moments, man. Don't let what happened on Sunday rob you of that. This was an awesome season and a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, 5-7. You lost your last game of the year in the swamp to an interim staff,
to a coachless team.
Yeah, come on. This goes back, I guess, to the 6 versus 9 wins. How pissed does Mike Norvell coach next year? To which I would say, Corey, I guess, how pissed does Mike Norvell recruit?
Yes.
This year, I think is the question I'm more interested in. But how pissed do you think he'll coach this coming year?
I feel like he coaches always kind of pissed off in a good way.
You saw Brock Glenn out there throwing the ball still after nearly throwing like 3 picks. He's like, screw it, keep going.
Let's go. You're going to hit one eventually, big dog. I think I think Aslan's got more accurate here. It's how pissed he portals, and it's how pissed he recruits. Because I think this stoked some fires and some embers inside him. Because I just think, look, he's always to suggest he's going to raise a level to something else suggests that he's not doing everything he does. He's not reaching his potential as a coach, or as like whatever his mindset is. He's going to even have a more focused mindset. No, dude, that guy's turned up to a 10 all the time. But I do think, he's going to have a little more motivation, let's say, for making sure this isn't a stopgap bridge year, that this is a big-time year with a big-time roster that will be favored to win the ACC and get in the playoff and then have a chance to win another national championship.
Do you think – I asked him going, I think, into the Florida game, I think because they had dropped to 5 that week, if I'm not mistaken. I remember asking him about – if he watched that or had any reaction, and, he had a pretty good response about, listen, we just, if we win this week, we got a game the next week, it'll all work out.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think he'll take like a different stance if these sort of situations come up again where, when we talk about the playoffs, like, hey, listen, I don't, he didn't say I don't care, but he never really engaged in any question about the playoff. And I get it. You mentioned it, like, you don't want to talk about we deserve to be in the playoff when you have 2 games you could possibly lose.
Two very losable games.
Yeah, and then you lose one of those and you look silly. I mean, do you think he doesn't, maybe doesn't take the high road and gets maybe a little pissed and says, that's an absurd question. How would you leave us out? Do you think he takes maybe a little more of a firm?
I hope if I could, I was going to say mentor, but that's not the right word. If I could give him some advice in the offseason, especially if he's got a roster that we think can make a real run, I would tell him every press conference after a win, be the most sarcastic SOB that's ever been. And just say, look, great win. I know it doesn't matter because Jordan Travis wasn't our quarterback tonight. It was DJ, or it was Cam, or it was Tate. So I know the committee 3 months from now isn't going to care about this, but I was really proud of my Jordan Travis-less football team. And I hope moving forward we can find a way to maybe win another game or 2. And just do that all season. Like to where it becomes a parody of itself. That's what I would do. But again, I'm petty. I don't think he'll do that. But I would just be so I would be dripping with sarcasm the whole time. Will this count? Let us know if this win counts, please. Please let us know if this win over Miami or if this win in Ireland. Does this matter? Is anybody watching? Is this thing on? Like, I would just do that the whole season.
Can someone please Photoshop Corey's head onto Richard Petty's body so we can just call him the King and Petty and just
yeah, no lie, right?
I love it.
I am absolutely petty. I'm coming for everyone.
Thanks, everybody. I think you just listened to the longest podcast in Wake Up Warchant history. Sorry?
Yeah, and who knows, because we're recording this like in the evening. There might be some news that breaks tonight. We have to record some more stuff. Who knows?
We got to figure something out here. If we're not going to do these, and I know, management doesn't like when we go this long, but maybe 13, that's the new number that we'll use to cap off the mailbag if we only do it for one show.
Why don't you break this up into 2 shows anyway? Is there a rule that we can't have a show on a Saturday? Come out on a Saturday?
No, but I mean, it's the offseason. Who's going to listen to a Saturday show? I don't know.
Everybody.
Let us know,
guys.
everybody. Yeah, let us know what you think, everybody. Was this too long? A lot of people love them, though, Corey. Like, people don't like our 40-minute shows, which used to be our sweet spot. I was just like, just get us to 45 minutes, and then we're home free. But now some people are like, they like the hour, 20-minute show.
Oh, well, we delivered then. You're welcome, everyone. Let me go take a nap.
He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening and voicing your questions, and hope we're helping a little bit, make these days a little bit better. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.